I had two near-death experiences as a small child. The first at the age of 4, the second at the age of 6. When at 4, I vaguely remember like laying on a couch, and it was summertime, and there was a blanket on me, and it was just felt so heavy that I was completely unable to move the blanket. Yeah, and at the time, living in very small rural community in central Iowa, the doctor actually came to our home. I vaguely remember him examining me, stethoscope on my heart, on my back, and all those things. And the doctor and both my parents went to the next room, and we're discussing if I was going to be going to our small local hospital or if I was going to the University of Iowa hospital. And I was seeing this conversation from up in the corner of the room, looking down on it. I don't remember even how I got to the hospital, but it's just all of a sudden I was in this massive, super, just amazingly beautiful garden. I just, the words for it just aren't really, I've never really been there for me. But the grass is, really green grass, like Mary mentioned. All these animals everywhere, and these massive, massive trees that, they're just so big around that, and now that I've seen the redwoods, I would, kind of put them in that category as far as size. And I was greeted by these 3 beings that to me felt, they were very comfortable. I felt like I knew them somehow, but they were just like these glowing beings of light. There was no facial features. I didn't see feet or hands. They were just these, this glow, and this, long robes. And it's like they really just kind of wanted to occupy my time because they knew I wasn't really supposed to be there. And as a kid on the farm, there was nests of animals like birds, mice, snakes, rabbits, whatever. I was notorious for finding them, and I would just very gently play with them in my hand and then put them back in the nest exactly where I found them. And it's so, seeing the animals was very comfortable and very soothing for me. And it's like, I didn't hear the words verbally, but they were in my head, and I was asked if I wanted to see the world through the eyes of the animals. And I just seemed to move then from animal to animal, starting with the animals that I knew that I was comfortable with. But then the next thing I knew, I was flying, and then I was swimming in the ocean, and it seemed like I went from smaller animals to larger. And then the next thing I knew, I wasn't swimming in the water anymore. I was swimming in space. And it's like I saw this, best words I can just, it's this massive, glowing area in space that was even brighter than the angels that I was seeing. And like all these beings seemed to be just coming out of it. And it was, looking back of it now, I think of it as almost like souls being birthed from God, creator, whatever words you choose to describe that. And I was leaving saw myself leaving that space, and I was pulled aside, and as well as so were 2 other beings that were leaving the space. And I remember seeing these screens that are being shown on the screen, and we were asked if we wanted to become planet creators. I remember that phrase very specifically because I didn't understand what it meant then, and I really don't fully understand what it means now. But it's like we were shown then what the world would be like if we did, and what would be like if we did not, if we went and continued on to the angelic realms. The other two beings went to the angelic realms. I obviously did not. And then the next thing I know, I'm literally waking up in a hospital room. And this experience I had then at 6 started out very, very similar. As far as, seeing the garden, the exact same 3 beings. The only difference was this time, because I'd been going to Sunday school, I had questions. I wanted to know how long God's day was. I wanted to know where they came from. I was a very inquisitive child, and I wanted to know, I don't even remember all the questions I asked. The one that really stood out to me was when I asked where they were from. They showed me what looked very similar to, it was like a skyscraper, but with no exterior walls. And each of the floors, I guess you would call them, of this building, they were different heights, and they seemed to even be made out of different materials. And I just remember being fascinated by that and how drawn I was to the energy of some of the different layers over others. But it just, and then again, I just kind of, continued, they then took me through, different animals again. I think I was again shown, the same thing of where I was asked to become the planet creator. I was shown that scene again. And then the next thing I know, I'm waking up in the hospital again. I do remember one of my grandmothers being in the room. And she didn't even know I was awake yet. And she was sitting there reading a National Geographic, which she did a lot. But and she actually was reading the one that on the front of the cover was the Giza Plateau. And I startled her when I asked her, where's the rest of them? And first she asked, well, the rest of what? This is the rest of those, because I didn't even know what they were. But I was asking where the rest of the pyramids were. And I do think it's interesting that even here in the very last few years, they have discovered the foundations for more pyramids in the area of the Giza Plateau. But I knew absolutely nothing about them. But from that experience of seeing my angel during my near-death experience, I was able to just see them all the time. They were always with me. And it seemed like there were many of them with me. But through that, up until 1997, I just saw my own. And then in 97, at the time, as a stay-at-home mom of 2 teenage boys and 2 toddlers, I realized I wasn't seeing just my own anymore, but I really didn't think too much of it at first until I went to the grocery store. And I got so overwhelmed that I literally left the grocery cart in the middle of the aisle and went back home. But and then as soon as I was able, having 4 children, I had many demands on my time, but as soon as I was able, I sat down in meditation, was asking, why am I seeing everybody's angels? What am I supposed to do with this? Why me? I think any of the questions any of us would have, they were very specific that I was to find a way to draw or paint them. I spent probably the first 6 or 7 months arguing with them about it. Mainly because, I not only was very busy being, raising 4 children, but on another minor detail, I really didn't know how to paint or draw. I'd always dreamed about being an artist because as a kid, when I was probably about 9, maybe 10, I found out in history class I was born the same day as Michelangelo. That meant something. didn't take me long to find out. It really didn't. Even in high school, I had the art teacher told me not to bother. And those were almost his exact words. That, I kind of, after arguing with them and, for several months, and obviously, if you've ever tried to argue with angels, it doesn't work. You're not going to win. But I spent several months then trying to paint them with watercolors, very quickly learning that watercolor is probably one of the most difficult mediums there is. And at that time, then I switched to pastels. I probably drew the angels for the first 3 to 4 years using pastels. And at that time, I just really wasn't getting the details of everything that I was seeing, because sometimes I would see, I might see a necklace on an angel. I might see a belt. They might be holding something. And I just really was struggling getting the details that I was seeing. So I switched to colored pencil. And that is the medium that I still use today. But and just to give you an idea, here. That's this is Archangel Gaia. And I still, to this day, even in my experience, I said I didn't, see details of faces and hands and feet. I still do not. I see them in what they refer to as their pure light form. Let's see. There's another one that, this is actually a little more recent. This is the Archaea, which is the feminine energy of Archangel Sandalphon. But that's just to give you an idea of how I see them. But and as I've continued to just learn and expand my growth and learn different things, I can counter the crystal singing bowls. And I heard them and I absolutely fell in love with them. At the time, I did not trust my children to not break them. So I collected the pounded Tibetan singing bowls and I learned how to play with those. And then what was it? Probably, I don't even remember exactly what year. It was about 5, maybe 6 years ago. I started doing public crystal singing bowl meditations. And then I had a local healer introduced me to what's known as the Solfeggio frequencies, which are very specific Hertz frequencies. These frequencies were used to sing our universe into existence. Therefore, they can help us realign with our original blueprint. They are all 3-digit numbers. And when you add them up, they always add up to either 3, 6, or 9. And there's a whole lot of science based behind this, but it is based on Pythagorean math and sacred geometry. This gentleman had seen some mandalas that I was just starting to play with, mostly just for fun, to kind of, learn some different drawing techniques. But he asked me then to draw mandalas based on the Solfeggio frequencies and using some music that he had created, for inspiration. So I've now created 81 mandalas because there's 9 sets of 9 frequencies. So I've created mandalas for all of them. That was a 7-year project. So just continuing to learn different things, continuing to research and study, because there's just so much to learn about our world, so many things that we don't understand. And I'm just, I think one of the things that I walked away from with my personal experience was that there was so much we don't understand, and there's so much more that I would like to learn and know.